Though the southern United States have leaned towards Republicans for decades, North Carolina, which President Donald Trump won in the year 2016, is a battleground state, or call it a swing state. The presidential polls indicate that Joe Biden is giving Trump stiff competition. From Charlotte, VOA's Aisha Sarai has more.
Staunch supporters of President Trump are confident he will carry North Carolina in November, but acknowledge it will be a tight race.
North Carolina is a swing state. People think, it possibly could go. I can guarantee you that North Carolina will be going for President Trump. It's going to be a close race. I expect he'll carry North Carolina by 2-3 percentage points.
Joe Biden's supporters are working to rally support for the Democrat in North Carolina and getting varied reactions from voters.
It's mixed. It's about a mix. Today's been a lot of Biden. We're really surprised in this area. But on the freeways, a lot of birds. But it's been great. I need a better president. I need a president that can read and write and that can be for the people. So that's why we're here.
Democrat Barack Obama narrowly won North Carolina in 2008. The state went Republican in the next two elections by fewer than 4 percentage points. Recent polls have shown Biden leading the state by razor-thin margins.
Our state is very bitterly divided, but it's an even division between the partisans. And so the likelihood is both sides will get anywhere from 43 to 45, 46% of their respective votes. But it's that last sliver of persuadable voters that could flip from one side to the other that really makes North Carolina as competitive as any place else in the country.
In addition to the presidential race, North Carolina features a hotly contested Senate race that could help determine which party controls the legislative chamber. Aisha Sarai, VOA News, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Let's talk a bit more about swing states like North Carolina. For that, I'm going back to Voice of America's Nova Purvadi, who's joining me from Washington, D.C. at this hour. Nova, explain to us how razor-thin the margins are between Donald Trump and Joe Biden's support in North Carolina.
Well, we mentioned how razor-thin it is, and it is actually when you take the average of several major polls recently done in North Carolina. The difference, the lead that Joe Biden has is 0.2%. 0.2%. That's how razor thin it is. And this is, of course, an average of several polls that showed either Joe Biden ahead or Donald Trump ahead. And even in polls where Joe Biden leads, it's 2 to 4 points ahead. Certainly within reach of the margin of error of some polls. That's how razor thin it is. And this is an interesting state because it is in the South and it usually trends Republican, but Barack Obama won it in 2008, and he did so by just 14,000 votes. This is one of the most razor thin margins in general elections, all for North Carolina's 15 electoral college votes. Now, I've mentioned before that both camps are not taking anything for granted, and so they are looking to either sway North Carolina to the Democrats or to keep North Carolina in the red camp. And it doesn't get any swingy than North Carolina, Akansha.
No more swinging than North Carolina. But on that note, Nova, I'd also like to get in a sense of how the Republicans look at it or even how the Democrats look at it. Let's draw a contrast. Now, are there differences in how each candidate over here, be it Donald Trump or Joe Biden, how do they approach these battleground states?
Well, it's interesting because it's not a popularity contest. It's not about the popular vote, but about the electoral college votes. Majority of the campaigns are going to be held in battleground states, swing states such as North Carolina. You'll see the candidates themselves go to these states, and for safe bet states like California and New York are heavily Democratic, so there doesn't need to be much of a presence there. Maybe they can send surrogates or the VP candidate. But Donald Trump and Joe Biden has to go to these swing states in order to convince the local voters. You see a stark difference between the two campaigns. Joe Biden and the Democrats are portraying themselves as taking the coronavirus pandemic seriously. So you'll see him out with a mask, along with his entourage, and also giving elbow bumps instead of handshakes and such. Whereas President Trump is resuming mass rallies where he thrives because he thrives off the energy of the audience and vice versa. And these rallies are pretty much similar to what he held before the pandemic. They're usually held outdoors for social distancing purposes, but not a lot of masks, as one New York Times reporter tweeted one time.
Right.
So there are difference of approaches, and of course there's also the airwaves. The battle for voters is not only on the ground but also on the airwaves, and we see here a competition to blast ads both on the internet and on TV. Republicans have spent since June around $6 million in a state like Georgia, which hasn't really voted Democrat
Right.
since 1992. And
Right.
conversely, Michael Bloomberg has promised to has pledged $100 million
Right.
to help Joe Biden win Florida, which is also a swing state where Democrats have a 50-50 chance or even less
Right.
of swinging to their side, Akansha.
Absolutely. It is precisely these contrasts which are making the US election this year so polarized. On that note, thank you so much, Anova Parvadi, for bringing us all those inputs and sharing your brilliant analysis on our special co-production. We'll keep coming back to you.